How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, and tonight we are going to hit on the New York Yankees, my New York Yankees. Moving into the American League Championship Series, and this time they will be catching a different foe. It is not going to be the Houston Astros. As you know, the Astros were knocked out early. They await the winner of the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers. The Cleveland Guardians forced a Game 5 going back to Cleveland. And, the smart money says that it is going to end up being 1-2 facing each other in the American League. I'm going to hit on this game. Man. It's a good feeling when you can advance and beat a team as talented and as hungry as the young Kansas City Royals when your best player, the future American League MVP Aaron Judge, has the kind of series he had. You can't go any further than acknowledge some of the guys that really stepped up in this situation. Goes without saying that the last two nights in Kansas City, Giancarlo Stanton, a guy who's been under much ridicule because of the fact that he doesn't play the field, that even though he was instructed by the organization to not bust it down the lines, doesn't really run well anymore. But for his performance the last couple of nights, 3-hit game yesterday, big knock tonight, Giancarlo has just been everything that the Yankees paid for back when they brought him in after the 2017 season when he won National League MVP as a member of the then Florida Marlins, now the Miami Marlins. As a fan, I do want the Detroit Tigers to advance because of the fact that their manager, A.J. Hinch, led the Houston Astros to victories over us before being suspended for a year for the cheating scandal. But, he has done a hell of a job with the Tigers. A program in Cleveland that Terry Francona built was left in good hands, and they are about to punch their ticket. Emmanuel Clase, if I'm not mistaken, only for the second time this season pitched more than an inning. That was a back-and-forth affair. It's going to be interesting because Anthony Rizzo might be available for the ALCS, but I truthfully believe that John Birdie in that lineup gives the Yankees a lot of versatility. He's doing a good job at first. He can run the base pads, one of the fastest people in MLB. Aaron Judge's lack of production has been concerning, but I do believe that being able to get on base twice, steal a bag tonight, I think that he's going to get into a better place going into the next series, whether it is Cleveland or Detroit. Jazz Chisholm, I got to give him a lot of credit too, because prior to the trade at the deadline coming over from Miami to the Yankees, never really got any substantial time at third base. And he has more than filled in and done his job, because that was a position that for previous years was manned down by DJ LeMahieu, mainly of guys that are still on the roster. More recently, former Yankee Josh Donaldson was there. Yeah, Gio Urshela there. It's been a bit of a revolving door. But for a guy who is a career outfielder, he's also played second. Jazz Chisholm has been an exceptional pickup for the Yankees this year. John Birdie was an early season addition that was kind of a quiet move. He unfortunately missed a good chunk of the year with a bad calf injury, but, he got thrust into some serious playing time in this series. And even when he makes outs, they're productive outs. He's working counts. Juan Soto, this could be it for him in the Yankee uniform. So definitely, if it's a one-year situation, the Yankees want to maximize that with a World Series win. I am not insinuating that the Yankees will not be able to bring back Soto, but it's going to be at a hefty price. And if you ultimately win the World Series, and if that price gets a little bit out of hand, I think the Yankees could feel a little better if he moves on, knowing that the 1 year they had him, they were able to get it done. But, it would be hard to imagine the Yankees not making sure that they keep that pair going talking about Judge and Soto, because from a productivity standpoint, this is probably the best Yankees duo since Mantle and Maris. And before that, probably you could talk about Mattingly and Winfield, but not at the same home run clip. I mean, nobody's going to hit home runs like these guys in this era. But you go even back further, Gehrig and Ruth. But this is one of the top 5 most accomplished Yankees duos in only one short year. So you've got to say to yourself, if they keep these guys together, sky's the limit. Garrett Cole pitched a beautiful game today. With the exception of Tommy Pham, nobody in that Royals lineup was really able to figure him today, and he pitched so much better than he did on what I believe was too much rust in game 1. Game 1, he got roughed up. It was a game we won, but he didn't have his best stuff. I personally thought that he could have went into the 8th. I was a little worried when I saw Clay Holmes enter. You know, Clay Holmes made the All-Star team, but he also had the most blown saves in all of MLB. He recently got relocated into earlier work as Jared Weaver has taken over the closing duties for the Yankees. And, you know, what a difference a couple years makes. This is a guy, Weaver, that while a member of the Royals, looked like he might not even be in Major League Baseball much longer because of how much he was struggling. And now, in the most important inning of the Yankee season, he nails down a big save. Clay Holmes, since relocating, getting demoted out of the closer role, has actually been very efficient for the Yankees. And it looks like that's the way it's going to play. But I'll put it to you like this. If the Yankees would have got one more insurance run, I think they may have allowed Holmes to try to get 3 more outs. But, you know, Weaver has been a godsend because for a good chunk of the season, it looked like this was going to be the Yankees' Waterloo, talking about the 9th inning. But I believe the New York Yankees are right where they expected to be at minimum in the American League Championship Series. And truthfully, when you look at teams like Baltimore, who had a winning record against the Yanks, a team like Houston, who in previous years has ended the Yankees' dreams of a World Series 3 different postseasons, things have lined up to a position where the New York Yankees are supposed to, at minimum, represent the American League. You know, you have an upstart New York Mets team that has kind of been the Cinderella story of October. It took them game 163 to clinch a playoff berth. And they made short work of the Philadelphia Phillies, a team that won that division. And they await the winner of game 5 between the Padres and Dodgers. That series has had a little bit of everything. But after looking at the way that the Dodgers dominated in game 4, I believe that they're going to win. But I think game 5 is going to be quite epic. I also think that game 5 in Cleveland is going to be quite epic. But when I think about Cleveland, I think about what Jose Ramirez has meant to that organization. He could have made more money in other cities, but he has been embraced, and he has done some embracing of that Cleveland city. And this is a city that has had a hard time keeping their superstars. You know, you look at LeBron James leaving that city, you know, not on the same level of a LeBron, but going back to even a Bernie Kosar when he was released. You know, fans were very upset. Cleveland and Jose Ramirez go hand in hand, and I think he's going to shine in game 5 and going to take his abilities to a different kind of level to ensure that he does everything imaginable for the Guardians to make the ALCS. I will be rooting for the Tigers, but one thing I got to say, you look at teams like the Tigers, you look at teams like the Royals. Should the Tigers get eliminated in their next game, they have nothing to be ashamed of. And as the Kansas City Royals go, I think it's a cool story to their season. You know, they're the first 100-loss team to win a playoff series the very next year. They have done a phenomenal job. Miguel Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., you know, the future Hall of Famer Salvador Perez, who's the elder statesman on that team, you know, the only link to their World Series appearances, one of them winning two times back-to-back, going there, beating the Mets, losing to the Giants back then. But this is a team that's going to be back. I was a little surprised that it took Witt as long as it did to get going, but then again, I didn't have Judge struggling the way he did either. Little bit of a moment of controversy when Garcia was trying to break up a double play. He didn't really appreciate the way that he was tagged by Anthony Volpe. Volpe's forearm kind of caught Garcia in the face. I think it was more unintentional than anything. I think Volpe kind of lost his forward balance. It appeared that Garcia got more upset when Volpe was just trying to calm him and be like, hey, we're good. But Bob Costas has been ever so annoying to me doing these games. And I don't care if he roots for the Yankees or not, or the way he comes off, or even with Ron Darling being a former Met, maybe not the biggest Yankee guy. I don't care about any of that. Everybody is allowed to feel how they feel. But between just the monotone, narrative-driven, he sounds like a narrator of like a baseball doc. He was great for the NBA on NBC, building up pregame shows, things of that nature, building up the pregame videos. But what really upset me with Costas today, two things, and why I don't think he should be in these kind of games. Number one, he didn't realize that you don't have to pitch around a guy anymore to do an intentional walk. You could just inform the umpire. He wasn't aware of that, or he had a brain fart about that. That's a little forgivable. You're on live TV. It happens. Da-da-da. But the thing that really annoyed me with him was when he insinuated that Jazz Chisholm didn't have the right to get involved and verbally mix it up with Miguel Garcia when he tried to get Anthony Volpe to act out of character and potentially start a team fight. It's your responsibility as a teammate to protect your guys. And Jazz has already put a target on his back, so to speak, with the people of Kansas City after the Game 2 loss when he flat out said, they got lucky, we're going to win, we think we're the best team in baseball. So, wearing the hat of the villain, being that kind of player coming in on the road, I think Jazz did right by making sure that got shut down quickly. As I already stated, I'm not overly worried about Aaron Judge, even though his playoff numbers have been completely just do not resemble what he's done over the course of his regular seasons. But I think the narrative is going to change. It's a short sample size, no matter how you slice it. But at the end of the day, he won't be considered a great Yankee until he elevates his team to that next level in these all-important at-bats in the seventh inning or later. Hey, Troy, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for joining. NHL's back too. How you feeling about your Caps this year? Kind of curious. I know that your Commanders are doing their thing. I'll be honest, man. This isn't the same kind of feeling I have if it is the Giants or the New York Knicks or the New York Rangers who win a series and move on. Maybe the Rangers, because I think the Rangers have been good enough to win. Going back to last year, they just didn't win the whole thing. When it comes to the Yankees, I'll be honest with you. Anything short of an American League Championship appearance, and I have bigger aspirations of making the World Series and winning, but most seasons, anything short of that, to me, is nothing to really do a backflip over. And I am happy they won, but I'm cautiously optimistic and just kind of calming it. I'm not like all over the place, overexcited, because when the Yankees win a series like this, to me personally, it's more of a relief. This is what they're supposed to do. You take a team like the Tigers, you take a team like the Royals, they're super naive. They're super naive. And I think it was said best even by Costas. One of the things that he said that did make sense is that when you overexceed expectations and you get beat, it takes a while for you to reflect on the job that you did during the course of the season. And as I already stated, the Kansas City Royals, they're definitely ahead of schedule. How could they not be after you lose 100 games, come back the next year and do what they did? But no, they're going to be around for a while. This was not an easy series by any means, but I am super thankful that on a day like this and on a game like this, the New York Yankees have a person like a Garrett Cole. You're feeling okay about the Caps. Yeah, I noticed last year in our first round series against the Rangers, Washington is well coached, well disciplined, but they didn't exactly have the firepower to go blow for blow with the Rangers. But the thing that impressed me about your Capitals last year is that you guys became sellers at the midway point and still made the playoffs. So I think that even though we bounced you out quickly, I think the playoff experience against the Rangers is invaluable, and I think that's actually going to help you guys this year. How am I feeling about the Padres and Dodgers game tomorrow night? I think it's going to be an absolute war. I think it's going to have all the dramatics. It's not going to be no 8-0 drubbing that we saw the other day. But I'm going to call it now. Shohei Ohtani going head-to-head with Suarez in the final inning. 2 men on, 1-run lead for the Padres. That's what it's going to come down to. And I think Ohtani wins the battle. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I really mean that. Do I have the Commanders winning Sunday over the Ravens? Sorry to tell you, but no, I don't. I do think the Commanders have a bright future. And I think things are going to probably break the right way for them if they stay healthy down the stretch. The NFC East is still very wide open. Personally, I think if we carry a kicker, we're in a share for first place tie right now. But I like what your team is doing, even though the defense is definitely a work in progress, and even though you guys in your own way are struggling against the run. I don't think this is a good matchup for you guys. I think Derrick Henry is going to lean on you early and often, and I think that Lamar Jackson, because of the running game, is going to be able to dissect the questionable secondary of your team. Offensively, though, I do believe that you guys are going to make some plays and keep the game close. But much as I admire Jaden Daniels, I think he's more susceptible to make an unfortunate turnover as opposed to the veteran and 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. I got a final. I think on the show I predicted 31-23, if I'm not mistaken. 34-20 wouldn't blow my mind either, assuming that maybe, Daniels has an uncharacteristic turnover or something of that nature. But, this is the first time, in my opinion, that you guys are playing a team that's already on the map, so to speak. Cincinnati Bengals have an awesome offense, but they can't stop anybody on the other side of the ball. So, my co-host Mike Zappi the other day on the show literally said that he thinks the Bengals might be the greatest 1-4 team in the history of the NFL. It's not a matchup that I'm looking forward to, especially because we're going to be missing Kayvon Thibodeau. But having said that, it puts Azeez Ojulari in the starting rotation opposite of Brian Burns. If our defense could play even remotely as well as they played against Seattle, I do believe that offensively we're going to be able to do what we have to do. I know that Malik Neighbors, according to my co-host, I didn't see this today because I did some hurricane cleanup at my house, but Malik Neighbors was spotted at a concert, and he's getting eaten alive in social media because he is currently in concussion protocol, and it's one of the things that doctors tell you to avoid. So I'm not sure if Neighbors is going to be suiting up this week or not, but with the emergence of a Tyrone Tracy, I believe that we have a very good chance to beat these guys. And we've never lost in East Rutherford, New Jersey against the Bengals, so it should be an interesting one. But as the division goes, I think it's going to be very exciting. And I look forward to hopefully winning and having a 3-3 record when Philly comes in for the Saquon homecoming. That's going to be a phenomenal, phenomenal game, and one that I have circled on my calendar since about 2 seconds after Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles. But Troy, thank you for popping in. I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate the support. If you ever want to get on a hockey show or something, get at me. Let me know, and we can make that happen. Or even if you just want to come in for football, whatever, we could definitely chop it up. But announcements to come for my next show. I wanted to just kind of get in here and give my feel about the temperature of Major League Baseball. But before I get out of here, I got to say this. A Subway Series rematch between the Mets and Yankees would truly be phenomenal. There's a part of me that wants the Mets because they swept us this year in the regular season, and I want to be able to shut up some of those Met fans. But also because it's exciting. It's truly exciting. I had the pleasure and privilege of attending the 20-year anniversary of 9/11 with my brother from another mother, Mr. Richard Dorney, diehard Met fan. We won the game on the 11th. They won the game on the 12th. We went for 2 games. And it coincided with the beginning of that year's football season. But the point is that there is a different kind of electricity when the Yankees and Mets are both good at the same time. And this is a city, going back to way before my time, often embraced, a New York series, whether it was Brooklyn and the Yankees, whether it was the Giants and the Yankees, and of course, back then for the National League title, the Dodgers and Giants won at each other big time, constantly. The Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants just went at it back in the day. And up until the Bochy era, the Giants never won on the West Coast. And, you fast forward to last year, Bochy is tied with Joe Torre for most world championships as a manager in my lifetime, 4 each. Torre was 4-2 in the World Series, whereas Bochy won 3 in the odd years with the Giants, never won in the even years, and got a 4th one last year with the wild card Rangers. So it should be interesting to see how it goes. Last thought on the brain. As many of you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I just implore and encourage all the ladies to please get your screenings. Please do what you got to do to make sure that you keep your health and keep an eye on that. It's a very preventable cancer if it is treated early. I have some people near and dear to my heart that have both succumbed to that as well as overcame it. So please, ladies, get your mammograms. Life starts and ends with all the women. There is no life without the women. So I just want to say to all the ladies, please make it a point to do that. Ivan Hidalgo, my brother, how you doing, Pa? Good night. What you think about Jets coach Robert Saleh's firing? I'll tell you, Ivan, I'm not so much upset or offended that they fired Coach Saleh, but I think the way that they went about doing it was incredibly unprofessional. Woody Johnson was not in the day-to-day operations of the New York Jets when they made that hire. But no matter how you slice it, with the new information coming out that Saleh did indeed want to fire Aaron Rodgers' OC, Nathaniel Hackett, it does kind of stink of a little fishiness that before he was able to fire a man on his coaching staff, Johnson cut his head off first. It does kind of stink of an Aaron Rodgers manipulation situation. I, of course, cannot accuse Rodgers of doing that, but it just doesn't sit right with me. And what also doesn't sit right with me was the way that they kind of walked him out, like if he was some kind of criminal. I personally think that when you have a quarterback that missed all of last year that you are basically building your entire championship aspirations around, and when your offense has been the true issue of the team, not necessarily the defense, and you go overseas on a neutral field, and despite that quarterback throwing 3 picks, you only lose by a score against a team that is undefeated, one of only 2 in the NFL. I think it's rather shitty the way that they did Robert Saleh, and with security walking him out and the way that they went about it. I understand that there might be a class action lawsuit because of the way things were handled. So stay tuned. It's going to be very interesting, but it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right. I know that the situation going back to when Brian Dable was hired over Brian Flores, and Flores kind of found out accidentally from Bill Belichick, who worked with both Flores and Dable. It's going to be interesting to see how it shapes up, but it doesn't feel good. And you got a few more comments coming in. He's basically getting paid supposedly $20K a day or something like that. Next 2 seasons, staying at home. It is kind of weird, but that's the temperature of football now, where the leashes on the coaches, similar to the NBA, is shorter and shorter. The players do indeed have a lot of power. Because I'm sorry, Ivan, but at the end of the day, even if Saleh was on the hot seat, it just doesn't feel right when Rodgers, with 3 self-inflicted wounds, because every pick in that game was indeed Aaron Rodgers' fault, your offense hasn't been moving the ball with the exception of the New England game. And I said it amongst some of my guys here on the show that I feel that Rodgers is kind of in business for himself. if that makes any sense. And that's where I'm at with it. That's truly where I'm at with it, Ivan. Any other questions anybody has? Get up in here, man. Ivan, let me ask you, since you're watching, who is your opinion for the World Series? Are you going LA, New York? Are you going New York, New York? Or do you think that the winner of Cleveland and Detroit might beat my Yankees? Curious to see what you think. I must admit, Ivan, the way the Mets are doing things, they do seem to a level almost like a team of destiny. Always has been, Ivan. Always has been. I don't know if you caught the other show, but I was actually making a joke. Family friend, my father and his father were in the same precinct during my dad's police career. His son is actually the New York Jets quarterback coach. So I myself was kind of surprised when Rodgers came in because, Rodgers has kind of morphed into that kind of personality where it's almost like a LeBron kind of deal, where it could be like the coaching nightmare, the anti-coach, so to speak. But the Jets, the way I look at it, Ivan, they are a dysfunctional organization, even when they have, according to Woody Johnson, the best team they've had on papers in the last 25 years. Because similar to the Mets, I always feel that they're trying to take the shine away from the Yankees or the Giants, in this case, signing big names. But I don't feel that they ever do anything truly intelligent. Like, they traded for Hassan Reddick, but they don't want to pay him. Going back to the Le'Veon Bell thing, they broke the bank for him, and he never wanted to be there. The Jets just seem to never truly make the right moves. And I got news for you, Ivan. This might sound a little far out, but if I was the Jets, I would have strongly considered bringing back Rex Ryan, because that's the last time that they actually had a team that was considered a contender. They lost the AFC title game 2 years in a row during that era, 09, 2010. And in 11, we're beating my Giants in an elimination game because each of them needed to win for their respective conference to stay alive. Ultimately, the Giants won Christmas Eve. I was in the house the next week, and as you know, we won the Super Bowl that year. But that was the turning point in our season when we beat the Jets. But that is the last time that the Jets have been relevant in December. Yeah, bro. Quite the Cinderella story indeed. And I got news for you, dude. The Mets have had our number. The thing that worries me about the way the Mets played us is that they really know how to attack the Yankees. In that particular series, they really pitched around Aaron Judge. But, since the additions, Jazz Chisholm, I really like the direction of the Yankees right now. And since we're back on the topic of the Yankees, I wanted to mention this. I didn't get a chance to mention it when I'm previously on the segment, so I'm glad you showed up. You kind of reminded me. I think the New York Yankees should drop Austin Wells in the lineup, possibly to 6, keep Stanton at 5, and I would strongly consider putting Jazz Chisholm at the cleanup spot, being a lefty. I think it would work. Wells has been in a 3 to 4 week slump dating back to the end of the regular season last month or so. And I think sometimes it's healthy to move the lineup around. Now, of course, you're not going to move Aaron Judge out of the 3-hole, even though he's been struggling. However, it would be interesting to see if Boone had the audacity to put Judge back at 2, being that Soto protects him. I kind of feel that they protect each other at different junctures. They are heir apparents in terms of talent, but Soto has the bigger upside because obviously he's the younger player. Jason Dominguez, it's not a good situation because I understand that the kid struggled a little bit in left field, but most of his time was really played in center when you look at his minor league stats. And there's no denying that he is a superior offensive player to Alex Verdugo. So when I think about Verdugo not having a very big future with the Yankees, you could potentially be playing with fire because Jason Dominguez might get to a point where he demands a trade. I'm not necessarily pleased that they didn't add Dominguez to the postseason roster. I think the one that really shocked me was that John Birdie got a spot, but he has maximized the opportunity. The Yankees, 33% of their lineup are former Florida Marlins. You got Jazz Chisholm, you've got John Birdie, and you've got Giancarlo Stanton. Another thing that I'm a little concerned about is Anthony Rizzo coming back from injury. I actually believe that the combination of Oswaldo Cabrera and John Birdie are more than adequate at first base. And of course, you also have Ben Rice, who is not only a first baseman, but also an emergency catcher who made the roster for this particular series. He, of course, got sent back down and kind of came back up kind of on a chance because of the fact that Rizzo broke his fingers. Yeah, you're 100% right, Ivan. He really does fit the Yankee culture. He is so embraced in the community. And, we have such a huge population of proud Dominicans in New York City, and they have totally, just everybody in New York City has totally embraced Juan Soto. But as well as anyone that the Dominican Republic just keeps producing just great player after great player, and that is not the kind of guy that you want to lose. You know what messed me up, Ivan? I didn't realize that Rice was fluent in Spanish until the other day. I saw an interview with him. Had no idea, bro. Not an idea that he was fluent in Spanish. That kind of blew my mind. But Ivan, I'm going to get out. Thank you so much for popping in, bro. And we're going to be doing our next show probably in a couple of days. We're going to try to move an evergreen show. I definitely also want to hit on my predictions for the NBA. That's right around the corner. New York Knicks, a lot to be excited about right now. And shouts out to your family, Ivan. I am glad that you guys are all right. I must admit, I had a couple of scary moments yesterday because we left the house a little too late. I originally wanted to hunker down here in my house. We deliberated a little too much. And unfortunately, I'm not proud to say this, but we did actually have to drive in some of the scary part of that storm. I would never advise anyone doing it. I would never do it again. But, there's just so much going on in life that I actually lost track a little bit of the better plan. So lesson learned there, and I'll call myself out on that. My home, nothing that can't be fixed. I got to get on the roof. Well, me. Let's be real. I'm going to get somebody to go on the roof. Got to put down some shingles. And the gutter in the back is dinged up halfway out. I lost half a shutter. That's not a big deal. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up early and do some power washing and get everybody out of the house. My little guy, unfortunately, he was getting over strep as well as pneumonia. And then the storm came in, so he's been stuck in the house. So, I'm going to get him out of the house a little bit tomorrow. And thank you, Ivan. Appreciate you. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. If you guys haven't already, please make it a point, like and subscribe to the channel down below, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. I did not get an inch of sleep yesterday at my brother's house, but it wasn't about me. I was just happy that my family felt safe. I got drenched walking in, so, immediately change of clothes. And it was almost impossible to sleep because, my brother has this sliding door by his pool, and you just kept hearing like these very uncomfortable wind tunnel things. And I kept having my ears open for, God forbid, if a tornado came through. But thankfully, we are okay. But my heart goes out to those in Tampa who had losses of property and life. Ivan, you're amazing, bro. Appreciate you. Have a great night, everyone. Announcements to come for our next show, and go Yankees.